One, two, three, four. Welcome. I'm in bed. See my covers. And who really pays for a national debt? Fox News had a thing today where Fox News was talking about how the 1% pay our national debt, and they pay a higher percentage than the poor people. And my opinion, and I want to just put this down, my opinion is, and everybody's going to freak out, the poor people pay the national debt. Okay? None of the rich pay the national debt. I mean, sure, they pay maybe a little bit of it here and there, a little teeny bit here and there. But overall, us poor people pay the national debt. In fact, most public debt is paid by the poor people. That's why it's not paid for right now. That's why we are in trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and it's not paid for because it's paid for by the poor, not the rich, the poor. Excuse me. So you're like, huh? How's that so? That's right. So the poor people out there pay the national debt. You probably don't know that, but that's what goes on. How does that work? You can like scratch your head. What is Mark talking about? It's got to be a crazy guy. You know, how could that be? Well, let's talk about it a little bit. So let's say you're a trillionaire, billionaire, and we'll start with the ones that make money because there are ones that don't make money, don't make any interest on the money. They just sock it away, and they're not making any money. And if they don't make any money on their money, and it's somewhere outside the United States, they don't pay any money in taxes. They retire, they have billions of dollars, and they have their money, access to it. Everything's paid for. So sure, they might pay a little bit of property tax, and they pay a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But if they're not a business, and they're not making any money, they don't pay any taxes. So that tells you right there, those people get eliminated right off the bat. Sorry about that. They get eliminated right off the bat because they don't have they don't pay any taxes. Okay, so anybody who's wealthy, who's retired, who's not making any money, no investments or anything, and has millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars, or whatever, they don't pay any taxes. So they're not paying national debt. So let's jump into a company. So let's say you have a company and you're making $1 billion a year. Of course, if you sell it, you pay some taxes, right? Or whatever. Well, let's say I have a widget, and most big corporations like the S&P 500, I mean S&P or the Dow S&P 500, Dow Jones 500. Most of those companies there get government contracts. Very important. So if you go research it out, and I wouldn't say all of them do, but most of those companies, or a big chunk of those companies, and the ones that the smaller ones that you might not know about, get government contracts maybe indirectly. Okay, so you may not know that they get influenced indirectly by government somehow or another. For example, like a grocery store. You say, well, a grocery store doesn't get government contracts. Well, they kind of do because the food that's in the grocery store sitting on the shelves, was grown on a farm. The farm got some government money to grow the food, right? And might have got paid by the government to grow the food. and they grew it, and then the food was eventually ended up in the grocery store at a cheap price. And then the food is sold at a cheap price. So it didn't have a government contract, but it had good government influence, and that cheap lettuce or all the produce in that store, apples, whatever it is, might not have been a cheap price on it if it had to pay any taxes. They're big probably don't pay any taxes, government taxes either. Or if they do, here's the clincher. This is where it really gets cool. What they do is the government says, "Hey, we're gonna." They pay the tax, but they include those taxes in the price of the food, in the price of the product. So let's say I'm a big company and I have computer products and I'm going to sell them to the government, right? I'm going to pay I'm going to pay some federal taxes on pay 20%. I'm going to pay 10%. I'm going to pay whatever it is because I call my tax accountant. I say, hey, tax accountant, I got, a $3 billion contract here that I might sign or, a government might give me. How much federal tax will I owe on it? And then they'll calculate it out. Okay, this amount probably. They give them a rough estimate. And then you call the state, same count it. Okay, how much state to tell me? Okay, sales tax, or, how much? Okay, and then you write all that down. The sales tax, of course, you don't pay. You give that to the government pays the sales tax. So, or they don't pay sales tax. One or the other. So then you figure all that out, and you include that in your price of the product. Okay, so you're gonna sell a $3 billion contract, or like you sell an F-16 aircraft, or you're selling a warship or whatever it is to the government. You're gonna include enough to pay the federal tax, and you include enough to pay the state tax. You include the taxes, folks. So that goes towards the national debt, but that is not the money's coming from. Where is that money coming from? That money's being borrowed from the federal government to give to the company to build the warship, to build something or to do something. So the federal government's borrowing money to give it to these companies so they can do something, buy something, do something, some services or something. And so then they complete the services, they get the money, and then they give back some of the money they earned that they included in the price, right, to pay for the taxes, which came from the government, which came from a loan the government got, which pays down the debt. Well, if they let it pay down the debt, that is. So it goes into the coffers of the government. So it all came from the government. It's not new, fresh money. It's not new money coming in from a new source and paying the government. It's just the government coming from the government. It's just coming from the government's own hand. So, that rich company didn't make money in the private sector and bring new money in and pay to the government extra money. It's just getting money from the government that was loaned to them and giving it back to the government. And so it's like, it's like you come up to me and then you say, here, Mark, here's $100. And I say, hey, here's $5 back. Oh, wow, thanks for the $5 back, man. That's what it's like. And then you think, oh man, I'll have to give you another $100 tomorrow. Cool, I'll give you 10 tomorrow. If you give me $100 tomorrow, I'll give you $10 back. Cool, dude, I'll do it. And so the next day, give me $100, I'll give you 10 back. And you think it's a great deal. That's a Democrat for you. That's how smart they are. And so in fact, I'll give you 50 the next day. Oh, I'll do it again. No problem. And so they give you 50, you give them 50 back, and then you get $50. So, in Texas, here you go. Here's $50. So you never paid any money really out of your own pocket from earnings, because the earnings are fabricated, because they're fabricated in the sense that you added you figured out from your accountant, your CPA, how much it would cost you in taxes, right? And you included those in your profits. So the real people that pay the national debt are the poor. The poor people are the ones that go out and buy products off the shelf and actually pay with the money that they earned from somebody. Now they may have earned it from the government, they may have earned it from the private sector, and most of it comes from the private sector. So private sector people go in and they buy, an item in the store, and of course that's the state tax, and they buy some fuel. When you buy fuel, there's a federal tax on it. There's some other items with federal taxes on it too. Depends on the state. So you buy some fuel in California, and I think it's 18% last time when I was there. 18% of a gallon of gas. So if it's $5, you paid 18% out of out of a dollar, 18 cents out of a dollar, you paid to the federal government. Okay. And even with that much of a tax on gasoline, folks, 18% on gasoline in California, which is one of the most populated places around the world. Well, not the world, but most populated places in the United States, other than New York. And that's still not enough money for them. It's still not enough money for them at all. And we're still $22 trillion in the hole. So think about that for just a minute. So all the gas across the United States, if the federal government charged them all 18% or close to it, all across the United States for all 320 million Americans, and or 300 million Americans, because you got some kids in there, and they all paid 18%, just a gas tax, and that's still not enough taxes for a federal government. And they're still going to have corporate taxes. They're still going to have personal taxes. They're going to still have all kinds of other taxes that they collect, from parks and services to tickets the cops give to, all the other kinds of taxation they can come up with. And they still don't have enough money to pay the bills. They're still short billions of dollars. Millions and billions of dollars are short. Okay? So it goes to show that the government cannot control itself in spending in any way. It can't build a nice bridge that's going to last forever. They can't seem to control themselves in spending, and they want to give money to the rest of the world everywhere you can imagine. They want to give money to, I just heard the measles came up, and they have this huge bunch of people overseas in different countries having big, huge protests about they want vaccine money for the measles. And I'm like, well, I'd love to give them vaccines for the measles. Who's going to pay for it? And, what, the United States is going to pay for it? We don't have the money to pay for that. I don't know what it would cost per shot, but it's probably a lot of money. Who knows? It might be $3,000 or $4,000 a pop. It could be higher. I have no idea. I don't want to see people die of the measles either. I don't want to see that either, but I certainly don't think the United States should be paying for it since we don't have the money. $22 trillion in debt, and we gonna dig some more money out to go in debt to take care of those people. And then there's people in the United States that got the measles because their parents won't allow them to have the measles shot to protect them from it. Well, whose fault's that? Not mine. So, geez, people. So I think we just need to stop spending money. We need to say, sorry, it literally just come out. Trump needs to come out to the world and say, we're not going to spend money anymore on the world. Sorry. Too bad. And we've got to we've got to cut our costs and start cutting them, and I mean big time worldwide, and then United States wide, we take care of our own people. These Social Security benefits to the, cut out doing means tests. If you're Rush Limbaugh with $650 million a year, you don't get a Social Security check. It's just for the poor. If he becomes poor someday, he gets a check. Until then, so that check goes to somebody else who is poor. I mean, there are people getting only $400 a month on Social Security. Come on, people. You can't live on $400 a month. You go, well, it's supposed to be a supplemental. Well, wait a minute. I know people right now that are getting, $2,000 a month each, husband and wife, $4,000 a month to live on Social Security. Okay, that's pretty damn good. And then you get Rush Limbaugh, getting his check for $2,500 a month or whatever it is, maybe $3,000, I don't know, somewhere wherever the cutoff is, and he's getting his money, and he's got $650 million a year, $300 million a year, whatever it is. Well, he used to be 650. I think it's $300 million now. He's getting $300 million a year, and he's getting measly $2,500 a month, and he wants his check. Screw you. He needs to grow up and say, sorry, Rush, you don't get your check because it's for the poor, moron, not for the rich. And take that money that he's getting and give it to a person, raise someone else's Social Security limit from $400 to $2,500 so they can live, and then go around and start raising the rates up from $400 to $2,500 for everybody, so everybody can live on the Social Security, at least a little better. Now, that way they can pay for the rent, they can pay for, their meds, because we got to pay for our stupid meds, and also make a law to where the states can no longer take out all the money. So if you get $1,000 a month or $2,500 a month, the state can't take out $1,500 for Medicare. They can't do that anymore. So we need to stop that too, because that's going on. So they call it spin down. So basically, what happens is you get $1,500 a month, let's say, and then the state says, "Oh, you're $1,000 over too much. You make too much money on it. We're going to take the other $500 a month away from you." Some people get $900. If they get the $2,200, they get the whole $900 taken away. That's ridiculous. And they're trying to live on their Social Security, and they take the $900 away, even if they don't even spend any money on drugs. So let's say they don't use Medicare at all for that month for the $900. Too bad. They get to keep the $900. What a ripoff! What a ripoff tax! That's just stealing from the poor people. Just stealing, flat out. If you're not using Medicare for that month, you don't pay the $900. In fact, I don't think you should be paying the $900 at all. Period. Anyway, at all, none. Zip. You can pay your little $2 or $3 for the medicines you go get, or whatever. That's fine. But you should be getting at least $2,500, maybe $3,000 a month. Everybody, not $400. Everybody gets the same amount across the board, no matter what you paid. In a story, all equal. And Rush Limbaugh doesn't get a check. Means tested, and all of the people that are poor get a check. And if that doesn't work, then everybody gets a check. Either everybody gets a check or he means tested. One of the two in the story. So if you want to be that way and say, okay, well, Rush paid a lot of money, he should really get it. All right, then give Rush his money too. But everybody gets the same check. Yep, Rush gets the same check as a guy that's a janitor sweeping the floor. Everybody gets the same check. And for their retirement, because $400 a month is not, or $200 a month is not any supplement. That's a joke. That's a joke. Okay? A cruel one. So you need to, and then the state comes along and says, "Oh, you made too much. We got to take one of the $100 away from you." You know, you go, "What do you mean take the $100? Yeah, you got to pay for your meds, and it's $100. So we got to take the 100 away. So now you get 100. How do you pay your rent? You don't. You're homeless. So all the rich people don't pay the national debt. That's the main thing that I'm trying to talk about here. Is that everybody keeps? I mean, you had it. I was listening to Tucker. I mean, I love Tucker Carlson. I think he's a straight shooter, and he was like, you know, he got it that they has some report out there that the 1% pays 23% of the national debt. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. They don't pay any of the national debt, none, zip. And because they factored into the price of the goods. So if they do a government contract, they price in the goods. If they sell goods in the store, they price in the goods in the store, and you pay it. So when you walk in the store to Walmart and you buy a Chinese item, okay, you say, well, hey, I bought a Huffy bike. Well, Huffy, the company, you know, built the bike over in China, okay, and Huffy's the one that owns the bike, even though it's made in China. They own the rights to that bike, and they are the ones that had trying to build it for them, and they're selling it to you, and they're also going to add enough money in there so that when the bike sells, billions of them, whatever, they're going to make sure they have enough money left over from that sale to pay the federal tax, which you paid, not them. You paid it. So they don't pay they don't pay the federal tax. You do. So you pay the Huffy bike. You go home. It's all factored in the price. The big rich people take out that money that you paid and write a check out for the federal tax. It's factored in the price, folks. Duh. And so I just, when I hear how the super rich are paying for the national debt, they don't pay the national debt, folks. And they never have. They don't pay stuff like that. What a joke. They raise the price and make you pay for it. And so these stupid Democrats come around and they say, okay, we're going to raise it to 80% or 90% or 100% on the rich. The reason why we stopped doing that from Roosevelt time is because it didn't work. Because the super rich got smart and said, I'll raise the prices to 120% of cost, 300% of cost. Like furniture. Furniture is a good one. It's 400, 500% of cost. So they can pay the national debt all day with that because you pay for it. Not the feds, not an honest living. They don't pay for it. You do. They just raise the price up. So you go in there and buy the couch with 500% markup or 1,000% markup for $200 couch. Normally it should be $200 for the couch or $100 for the couch. Instead they charge you, $800, $1,000 for the couch, and then so for $200 couch you're paying $1,000 for it, and you buy it, take it home, thinking, "Oh, I got a good deal, $1,000 for the couch." Oh. It's really only a $200 couch. Yeah, that's it. All the stuff to build it was $50. And you think you got yourself a good deal for $1,000? It is a joke. And so you have the couch. It lasts a while if you don't sit on it. And so in the meantime, that money that they made in there, of course they could pay the taxes on it. No big deal. That's why it's $1,000. And then even the kicker on top of that is if you finance it, you pay $3,000 for it. Excuse me. Then you pay $3,000 for it. And if you pay $3,000 for the couch, then that's even better. Woohoo! Because they don't pay. You also aren't paying the federal tax on it. You do. You pay it because you pay the interest fees on it. You pay for all the late fees, interest fees, all that kind of stuff. You pay for all that, and then they just give it to the federal government. That's all they do. They just collect it from the federal government, give it to them. Feds then say, "Oh, look at how the super rich are really paying for this." Wink, wink, nod, nod. Thanks for collecting that for us. You bunch of morons! Yeah, yeah, they think you're a bunch of patsies and morons because they want you to believe that the super rich paid for it. No, they hire the super rich to collect the money for them. Stupid asses. They hire the super rich to collect the money to pay the national debt and make you pay for it. And then they charge the bill up super high, like they've done now, $22 trillion, which is going to go higher and higher. You think it's going to stay there? My prediction with Trump is that it's going to go higher. It's going to go almost to 30 trillion. I thought it would go higher than that by now, but he's been sandbagging because some of the Republicans have been no, we don't want to go too high, and so they've been kind of sandbagging on it. But one of these days he's going to let loose. If they would have gave him the money for the wall, the Democrats are so stupid. They are so stupid. The stupidest dog I think I've ever seen. It's like I've been kicked in the head too many times or something, or ran over. And poor thing, I mean, it's just stupid. I shouldn't even say they're a dog because that's this whole thing. Dogs. I mean, they're just the stupidest creature you could ever find. I mean, it's like it's been ran over, jumped on, I mean, abused so bad. They're just stupid as stupid. Stupider than stupid. Hey, that's my cat. Boo, you're not stupid. You're smart. You know that, huh? You're not a Democrat. So they're just the stupidest creature in the world, sadly. And what I mean by that is that here's Trump, saying, "Hey, give me my wall, give me my wall." And if they would have gave him the damn wall and said, "Give us some money to do a dam or a new airport or new something," he would have done it in a heartbeat. They could have said, "Give us, we want to do this, we want to double Social Security." He would have done it. Double Social Security and like I was just saying a minute ago, raise Social Security up to $2,500 for everybody. He would have signed it. Or they could have probably said, "We want to increase Medicare, by doing something in Medicare," and he would have probably signed it. And he got his wool. I mean, they were so stupid. But they're so caught up in no wall that, they couldn't bargain with it, I guess. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So he was ready to spend money. He even told him that. He even said, kind of hinted, "Well, I'll do deficit spending." He hinted towards it a whole bunch of times, and they couldn't catch a clue on it. That's how stupid they are. So all they had to do is come up with a good budget to him and say, "Hey, Trump, give us, $1 trillion for all this spending for roads and bridges and stuff, or something. I don't know, whatever they wanted for their state." And he would have signed it in a heartbeat as long as he got his wall. And then everything would have been glorious. So but that's going to happen anyway. So Trump's going to get his wall probably. He'll get challenged in court, and I still think he will win. He'll prevail in court, or he'll get it built by the time it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. He'll keep building until the judge tells him he can't. If the judges don't tell him he can't build while it's in court, which I think is what's going to happen, then he'll get his wall. And if he gets his wall, and it gets to the Supreme Court, and then suddenly, whammo, it's all built. And then the Supreme Court might say, "Oh, you couldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. It wasn't right." "Oh, I'm sorry." That's what he'll say. And then he says, "Too late now. And they'll say, yeah, so I guess it's okay. That's what they'll say. That's what they'll say. And they'll stomping around mad as hell. Fire. And there's nothing they can do. It's already built. They can't tear it down because it's built. He won't let them tear it down. Now they go to the judge and say, okay, we want to tear it down. And the judge will say, oh, no, you can't do that. It's already built. And so they won't let them do it. I bet you $10. And so, sorry about that. And so they're just gonna, one step ahead of them, 2 feet behind. That's what the Democrats are, 2 feet behind. So he was willing to spend lots of money, but he's still gonna do that anyway. That's still coming up. If he isn't already doing it, he will be. And so he's a libtard in the heart when it comes to spending money. He loves to spend money. So what's going to happen next is more money will be spent. So it's going to go 21, 22, 23. Election probably will happen, Maybe it'll go 22 and then election time. Maybe 23, election. And then he'll win, of course. And then 24, 25, 26. Maybe push it to 27. He wins the election, So it's 2 years. Well, let me see. 20. Let's see, we got 21, so 1 trillion between now and then. Nah, you're probably wrong. So 23 trillion. So I'd say it's 22 trillion now, 23 trillion. Like by 2020, then he's got to win. So that's another trillion when he wins. So 23 trillion when he wins, probably close to that. And then after that, it'd be 24 trillion, 25 trillion, 26, 27. Yeah, about 27 trillion when he's all said and done. And that's if he's conservative. That's being conservative. But a trillion a year. If he goes hog wild the last 2 years he's there, he could hit 30 trillion. I don't think he'll go over 30. I was always thinking he'd go 40 to 60, but I think he's going to hit. I think he's now, because of the Democrats dragging their feet and being stupid about the wall and all that kind of stupid stuff, instead of just giving them the damn money and getting money to build what they wanted to do, so, but anyway, he's going to be around 30 trillion. And it's gonna be bad news. Sooner or later, these trillions and trillions of dollars are going to come a knocking. And the super rich are still not going to pay it. They'll just leave. They'll just take off. They'll just leave the United States. They have the money to split and take off from the United States, or they have the money to put it in a vault. Put the gold or the silver and stuff in their vault at home and shut the door and lock it, and put the cash in another vault at home and just pay their bills cash, whatever they want, and have the credit cards on the side until the banks close. Their land's paid for, all their stuff's paid for. So they don't care. Whatever happens, they got their guns, they got their stuff, their water, whatever. They got all their stuff. They're set. So those kinds of companies and those kinds of people that are super rich, well, they don't care, and they're not going to pay the debt ever. They never do. It's always the poor. And Fox News perpetuating the thoughts that the super rich pay like his boss, like Tucker Carlson saying like his boss pays, the actually pays for the national debt, which is just not true. He doesn't pay the national debt. Now he's probably worried that somehow they can come and seize his bank account or seize his money. That could happen, and then that pay the national debt. But we shouldn't do that. We should not be going after the super rich to pay the national debt anyway. It's not those kinds of people do employ lots and lots and lots of people like Tucker Carlson and pay them really well. And there's a lot of other news organizations that hire lots of people. Amazon hires lots of people. I heard they didn't pay any taxes, I think, last year, probably none this year. That's okay. They hire tons of people and pay them really well. So, Google, I think the average Google worker gets $197,000, a year in pay. So if they didn't pay any federal taxes, I probably wouldn't care. I'd say, whatever, who cares? So we can't force these big companies to pay federal taxes and pay our debt down. Okay, we can't expect them to do that. That's ridiculous. What we need to do is expect our government to cut spending worldwide, not in the United States, worldwide around the world. We've been giving money to France. We give money to Israel. If Israel wants a tank, they buy it. If other countries want a tank, they buy it, and we make a profit at it. Literally, So we have companies that make tanks. If they want a tank, they buy it for the company. If they want a specialized tank from one of our government-owned companies, we do it for a profit. We say, okay, you want this tank right here? That's the super duper, tank that's, the best in the world, tank that's going to be better in the world. It's worth, $50 billion. I don't know what the tanks run, but, it's worth, millions of dollars. You want that tank? We're going to add a few million on the side of that as a profit for the government, and we're going to pocket that and drop that into the treasury, and take maybe a little bit of that money to fix up the building that, if we need machinery or other kinds, take a little bit of that, maybe 1% of it goes back into the corporation that's building them, because they need tools and they need, new building and, all that kind of stuff, maybe more personnel, things like that. So a percentage goes back into the company. They still might get more money from the government to continue to fix up the building too, depending on, things. But they have a budget, and they're for profit, and they're to get their money back, and that's the goal when they sell the tanks, and we sell them for a profit. All the guns, all the ammo, everything we do should be profit oriented when it comes to selling weaponry. And then if we have companies that make the weaponry for the military, they sell it, to make money for themselves. Okay, as well. But they're not going to, none of those companies probably are going to pay the national debt down. Sure, they're going to add money to, let's say we sell a bunch of ammo to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia gets the ammo, they pay for it. Then there's a tax on it, federal tax that gets on it because it's sold Saudi Arabia, right? And so the company in the United States pays the federal tax. Okay, that's fine. But the company added on it a federal tax amount on Saudi Arabia when they sold it to them. Okay, so that's probably some extra money coming in there to our coffers that wasn't coming in there from the American people. So that, I guess, would be an extra profit. But the Saudi Arabia is pretty smart, so they probably tax some of their products that come to the United States that we buy. Get it? So now they they raise the price of some of their products. We buy them, and voila! Guess who paid for the national debt? You did. So you can't escape. Poor people can't escape the national debt. And so that's the whole ticket that I'm talking about here. Is that none of the poor people can escape it. And so we have to sit down and start saying, wait a minute, the poor can't escape the national debt. We need to start thinking about it. We need to start saying, hey, we're not giving money away anymore to other countries unless we absolutely have to. Starving people in another country, I don't mind giving them some food, some substance, a little bit to help them out. But other countries need to kick up, and help out. I just see the United States giving free food away to everybody, and I don't see other countries doing it hardly at all. England, where are they? Where's Europe, EU, and all the other countries that have food? They all need to kick up and start giving food to other countries and things like that. Well, it shouldn't be always just the United States. And so I think the United States needs to start backing down and stop giving away all our money and all our food and just start saying, you guys figure it out. And let those people figure it out for themselves. And guess what? They will, because they don't want to starve, and other countries will say, "Hey, we don't want them to starve either," and they'll start helping them out because we're not, and that'll be just fine, and we'll be happy, and those people will get fed, and then if for some reason they don't, maybe we can kick in and help them at the end of it. But I would prefer us not to. Is we need to start letting the rest of the world kind of help themselves, and that should be our motto: is everybody help themselves. Teach them to help themselves. Teach them how to fish so they can fish themselves, instead of us always feeding them and them not knowing how to fish. We should teach them how to fish so they can feed themselves, so they can take care of themselves. Independence. How to take care of yourself, feed yourself, grow your own food, whatever it takes. So these people can be independent and self-reliant. That is the goal. I think we should start working on self-reliance, and you take care of yourself. That way, the burden's not placed on the United States and on the rest of the world. But I think, what I think is that Democrats want them to be dependent on us and want us to give the free food so they can be dependent on us and get them hooked into, and then they're relying on us, food, and then we can tell them what to do. And we got to get away from that. We got to get away from that. They got to be independent. They got to work for themselves. They got to do their own labor. We'll teach them how to do it, how to grow a farm, how to do whatever, up to a certain point, and then say, see ya, and let them figure it out for themselves. Just like it happened in the United States. We had to figure out how to feed ourselves here in the U.S. Some people starved to death. It was horrible, but they figured it out eventually, let me tell you. And then everything was fine. And guess what? People taught us how to feed ourselves too, right? And so we learned and adapted, and then yay, and we're here now. And those people need to learn and adapt, and so they can be here tomorrow. But if we keep feeding them, give them free, easy food, free, easy stuff, and they can't pay us back for the food or the money, and then they end up in debt. And, yes, and they need to learn how to grow their own food, self-reliance, self-independence, and be free. And then if they have that knowledge, they'll be freer and more open people than they are now. So that's who pays the national debt, folks. Is you do, is the poor people. All the people down to a certain level. Some millionaires probably pay the national debt. Probably some of them below that. Lawyers might pay the national debt. The doctors and attorneys, some of them probably pay the national debt, and then down from there, homemakers, everybody has a job, a regular job that goes and punches in and gets the money taken out of their check, pays the federal debt. Okay. And then there's other people that pay the national debt too, and like when you get some gasoline or buy certain products that have taxes on it, federal taxes on it, those pay the federal money down. Then there's probably some stuff that get taxed when they come into the country that we don't know about, that they also get pay the national debt. But the super rich don't pay the national debt. I don't think they pay any of the national debt. They just collect the money for the national debt and raise the prices on their goods and services, and that's it. And they don't care. They raise on the goods and services, and if they can't sell it, they shut it down. So, for example, let's say Walmart was sitting there, and I'm not speaking for them. I'm just saying, let's say if Walmart was sitting there and they had a bunch of stores, and unless the taxes got too high, federal taxes got too high for them to pay, and they didn't feel like if they get added to the price of the food or items they're selling, then they just shut down stores and fire employees, and that would make up the difference. Get it? And so that's what they do for a lot of bigger companies. So IBM or any one of the 500 on Dow Jones, or the 2500 on the I can't even think anymore. Um, on the other exchange, I'll just say any of those companies and others. That's how they deal with it. They'll say, okay, you're gonna tax me at a higher rate for federal taxes. I'll just shut down a bunch of stores. That'll make up the difference. Or I will just you know, lay off a bunch of employees, or there's always different things to do to offset those taxes, but they don't pay them. You do. We do. So all the employees that lose their jobs pay, all the companies that they shut down, buildings and stuff they don't, all that then pays for it. But the super rich, in my opinion, do not pay the national debt, period. Okay, folks, it's you and me, the poor, that pay it. And that's why we have so much cities and the inner cities and stuff that are all falling apart. And you go there and there's just dives, they're all falling apart. And you can go down to Chicago or just about anywhere in the United States and find, cities falling apart and stuff. And the reason they're falling apart is because the people that pay the taxes are the poor. And the poor can't pay the taxes anymore. So then the city falls apart. Get it? And we pay the state taxes, we pay the city taxes, we pay the federal taxes, all of it. So there's only so many taxes that you can tax out of somebody, and so they tax, and a bunch of people become homeless. A lot of people become poor, and a lot of businesses can't survive the taxes. Some do, a lot don't. Maybe some spring up after that, after they tax the crap out of everything, or make too many business regulations and things like that that hamper businesses and things like that. I remember the years ago when I was younger, they used to have people that sold hot dogs at a hot dog stands. I remember getting them when I was a kid, and that was so fun. I'd go down there and they'd get me out, whip me out a hot dog and put it on a bun and put some chili on it, and I just loved that. And it was like the best tasting chili dog I ever had in my life. And then suddenly they had the war on all these stands. Oh man, they had this big war, and I remember they used to have little newspaper stands at the corner of the street or something. You'd walk down the street, and on the corner would be this little tiny newspaper stand, just selling newspapers and magazines. No pornography, but just regular newspapers and regular magazines. And you could walk down there and buy a magazine or newspaper. You could even buy old, yesterday magazines and newspapers. You could walk down there and they'd say, oh, this is yesterday's newspaper, and for half price, or like a dime. It was cool. I would buy yesterday's newspaper all the time here, or even magazines that were outdated. They would get some of my favorite Thai magazines, some of the other ones that I like. They would be outdated magazines sitting there, and I'd say, "Hey, I'll buy that," and I'd buy it for half price. For a lot of those magazines that happened to sit there. I remember that. In comics, they used to have comics and sell comics there, all that kind of stuff. And now, man, you go around, you can't even find a comic book anywhere. You have to go to a special store to get them. Rid of all those cool vendors, and that was spreading the wealth out because more people had small businesses had, like, one guy in one corner, go down a mile and be another one on another corner, and they used to compete with the corners, so and sell, and they had a business license that if they decided to sell that corner, they could sell that corner's business license to another guy who could take it over and do that corner, and it was neat. And then the hot dog stand, same thing. They could only have so many hot dog stands in certain areas, and sometimes taco stand or whatever. And the city would issue them only so many per street, and, da, da, da. And it was pretty neat. And then all the businesses got mad at them because they were making more money. There was a guy who was, I remember the one business guy goes, he had a restaurant. He goes, that stand out in front of me is making more money than I am in a business, and I'm paying higher taxes for this huge building and everything. And he was all mad that the taco stand outside his store was making more money. Well, the reason why the guy outside his store was making more money is because the guy inside the store owner, his stuff tastes like shit. That's why. And so all his stuff tastes like crap. And he had terrible service. But the guy out there in that little tiny taco stand, man, he got you those tacos fast. Boom, 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 boom. Give them to you really quick. They're nice and hot. The meat was always good. It was never like old. He always seemed to cook it up right away. He only cooked it so much. He only cooked so much up and had it in there. And then after it got kind of old, he just scraped it up and had a little trash can there, and he just boom, throw it away, and then cook some more up. If he saw some people coming down the road, he'd hurry and cook some meat up real quick, right then and there before they could get down to him, so it'd be nice and fresh. And then people would smell that and go, "Oh, okay, I'll take 2 tacos. I'll take them. I'll take them." "Oh, okay, I'll take 2 tacos. I'll take them. I'll take them." So he'd sell the tacos. So he'd sell the tacos like that, but he wouldn't mix tacos like that. But he wouldn't mix it up and have it sitting there all day cooking. He just kind of have it cooked on the spot, right when people, there was a big group of people coming, he'd throw more meat in there, boom, 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 fresh meat, boom, 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 boom. And he had a little freezer thing in there where it was frozen. He got it from the store and he put it in this freezer thing. It wasn't solidly frozen; it was just like medium frozen. And so he bought some from the store, put them in there in the morning to let them get nice and cold, really cold, and flop that thing in, chew it up, and mix up the sauce and everything with the tacos, and boom, 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 boom. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And it was just a little taco stand, but the stuff tasted really good. You eat that taco and you just feel like, wow, and it'd be nice and hot. That was this thing he used to tell me. He says it's got to be piping hot tacos. Even in the summer or whatever, had to be piping hot. So when you bit into it, you're like, whoa, that's good. And you're piping hot taco. He always said that wintertime, whatever, had to be piping hot taco. So you could walk a few feet away and then take a bite of that taco, and it'd be not burn. It wouldn't quite burn your mouth, but it would. It was, oh wow, that's hot. Oh wow, and that's what he wanted to hear, and that would bring more people back because it was piping hot taco, and so that restaurant guy, he also had tacos, by the way. But and his restaurant was kind of cool because he made chips. He made these chips that he would deep fry, and they were fresh tortilla chips. But they were kind of hard when you bit them. It was like really hard to break, and you could crumble them in your hand and then eat them that way. But they were just, I don't know. They weren't soft. They were kind of hard. So they were kind of hard to chew. And then when he brought you a taco, It's like, where is it? Is it under the plate? Under the table? Where the taco go? It was like this little tiny, it was like a little tiny taco. Well, he didn't cook the tortillas, so it's like a flour tortilla, uncooked or lightly cooked. It was laid flat and with a little bit of meat on there, little tiny lettuce, and then you'd always say no tomato, and he always put tomato on it. So you have teeny little tomatoes on it, hot sauce down the middle, and that's it, or a little sauce down it, and nothing else. Just that, or and then refried beans sometimes, and maybe some rice. Just a teeny bit, just a teeny little bit on there, like maybe 3 spoonfuls of each, and then that's it. And then a drink if you order one, and that whole meal would be like $7 or $8, and you'd be like, yeah, $7. And then you'd eat that taco and one scoop, one bite, the whole thing's gone. And it wasn't like the big tortilla flour. It was like a medium sized one or a small one. I mean, it was like a really small one. And you're like, where did he get the teas? That's small. Did he cut them in half or something? I don't know how he get them that small, but anyway, they were small, and you could eat that tortilla in like 2 bites or a bite. It'd be gone literally, and the meat was hardly any meat on it at all, and it cost you like $7. And so, including this, now the drink was pretty big. The drink was pretty big, but still, you can go to AM/PM or to a local gas station and get a drink for $1, the same size, you know. And then the taco guy outside, his stuff for like, I think it was like 3 tacos packed full of stuff in there, with lettuce in there and well, I'm trying to think, you could put guacamole if you wanted in there, but I always like it because I have lettuce. I don't really like tomatoes, so I would have lettuce, sweet and sour, and meat, and shell. That's pretty much what I like. And then you could have guacamole or whatever else you wanted on it. And then I have that sucker ready, and and then it'd be nice and piping hot. And so, and it was a good taco. It had a good taste to the hot sauce. Wasn't too hot, so it didn't burn the crap out of your mouth. Wasn't too soft to where it wasn't hot enough. It was just right, and for a general public. And then if you want a hotter, he had hotter sauce there that will blow your brains out. If you want, do you really want the hottest stuff? This stuff will blow your brain out. It's right here. Be careful. This stuff will burn right through your tongue. Well, that's what I want. Yeah. People would get that. Not me. I just want it just nice and warm. And once in a while I'll go for the hot stuff. Once in a while I have a bad day at work and I'd go, okay, give it to me. I'd stick that hot stuff on there, and boy, would it be hot. and it make jalapenos look like they were ice. It was like jalapenos or ice. This stuff is good. So anyways, so the poor people can't go around and get away with adding, if you go to your employer and you work and get a paycheck, you can't, you're not selling a product, so you can't add that percentage into your product unless you work for yourself. But even if you work for yourself on the low end and you have a small company, sometimes it's really hard to add that federal tax into your business. So if you work $65 an hour, let's say, and with your company, so you do 65 because part of that 65 per hour is federal tax that you're adding in there. Or you say, I want to make 65 an hour, so then I'll add extra in there for the federal tax. You could do that. A lot of people do. And so that you clear 65 after you pay your federal tax and your state tax. A lot of people do that. So basically, what it ends up being is the customer ends up paying the poor people end up paying middle class or below end up paying really the federal the federal debt and all debt actually all the government debt is paid by the poor. It's not paid by the super rich. mm. So I just had to get that off, get it off because I get tired of hearing that. Sure, if the super rich sell a company, they pay, a federal tax to sell the company, and they do that. But of course, they can add that to their profits. It's my little baby kitty right here. See, oh, look at that! It was just giving you a little rubby on the cheeky with this ball. He says, "Oh, love you, Mark." Hi, Jabu Jabu. Yes, I'm talking live on the. Can you see? Can they see? Oh, I can't see very well. He's right here, but you can't see him very well. There's his paw, though, you can see very. Ooh, this is a strong cat. Oh, tough guy. Huh? Yeah. So, anyways, I just had to get that off my chest. That's what happens. So, super rich, the 1%, those kind of people do not pay 23%, 14%. They don't pay any of the federal tax. Even the 10% all the way down, billionaires, they don't pay any federal tax. I mean, they pay the federal tax, but they get it. They're just tax collectors. They add it to the product and they just give it to the federal government. And anybody else that works for themselves below that, same thing. They just add it to the product. All the stuff you buy in Walmart is added to the product. So what ends up being is that the consumer ends up paying for the federal tax, national debt. That's who pays the national debt, guys. Is us, you and me, and that's why the national debt doesn't get paid down all the way really fast. That's why the state debt doesn't get paid down very fast. That's why the county debt doesn't get paid down really fast. That's why the United States is in so much debt because because us people are down here at the bottom of the chain are I play my cat a little bit or broke, and continue to get more broke, more broke, more broke. And they keep giving us some money, a little bit, into other companies and stuff to hire us, put us to work, do something, try to keep us going. But to no avail is because there's not that much more money left down here at the bottom to suck, and it's still sucking it. Believe me, it's still sucking it and sucking it, and as it sucks, ow, don't be mean, boo. Boy, he's big mean. He wants me to get up off the talking online. Don't be mean. Oh, that hurt. I think he's jealous because I'm talking on here really. So, what it will do eventually is how it collapses or how it's going to get you, just like it did with the Kings. The king, and it'll be a little bit different with the United States. The United States will have all this money sitting in their vaults. They'll have all this money to give out, or more money they can print. Okay, they'll have the money to print, but nobody will want it. The interest will be too high, and they'll have to raise taxes on wherever they can get it. And I think you're starting to see that now. I think, as you can see, like Amazon not paying any federal tax. As you can see, maybe some other corporations not paying any federal tax. Now they're getting smart. They're starting to say, okay, we'll pay no federal tax. Instead of being a tax collector for the federal government and going out and raising it on our products, they're realizing that the products now aren't selling with that added federal tax onto it. So we won't pay the federal tax. Boo, stop. I'm on here. I'm talking on the thing, boo. Quit. So anyway, so what they'll do is a lot of corporations will stop paying the federal tax, collecting altogether, and then suddenly they got a problem. And I think that's what Trump has noticed already, is that there's lots and lots and lots of companies not paying federal tax anymore at all. They're not collecting it for the feds. And so, and this could be huge. This could be a lot of companies instead of just Amazon. This could be thousands of companies could be doing this besides just Amazon, and there could be a lot of the 500 top companies could be doing it as well, other than Amazon. So there could be a bunch of companies doing it, and it's growing, and so that's why Trump started going back to taxing tariffs, because everybody's tariffs hitting us with tariffs, so we'll start tariffing them now, and which would be fine, and it'll make a slowdown eventually of products coming to us. I think it will, but also, but also what that will do is we'll get some extra money coming into the United States that's not from the American people. It'll be from outside the United States coming back to our coffers, and that might help us, and that will help us out to some extent. But it's not going to solve our problem. It's not going to pay the national debt. It's too big. It's too much money. And so I think what you're going to see is that the United States government will have tons of money, and nobody will want it. Nobody will want to borrow any. Nobody's going to want any of the money because they can't pay it back. They can't go out and sell anything to pay it back, and because the people will be too poor to do it, and nobody will be able to get a loan. It'll just be bad, and because all the money will be sucked out of all the poor people that really pay the national debt. So all of us down here will be dirt poor, and even poorer than we are now. As it sucks and sucks and sucks, more and more businesses will go broke. More and more small businesses will go broke. More and more down below here will go broke. And the only thing that will keep them running is if the federal government interjects money somehow to the bottom down here to keep it going. But as soon as they cut it off, it'll shut down. And as soon as they stop giving the money to big corporations to keep them going, they'll shut down. And that's what's going to happen. Because there is no underlying free market anymore. There is no underlying real markets anymore. They're all supported by the government now. On a large, there's probably some that isn't, but the big majority of the companies are now supported by the government in some fashion, somehow, in some way. And that's the problem, is that the government, through bids or through this or through that, worldwide, has given all the money, give money to Israel, give money to all these other countries and places and everything worldwide, doing the banking worldwide, because the banking is an extension of the government. You have the IMF giving billions of dollars to a small country. That country then gets these billions of dollars and spends it. It may not, it's a loan, but that is economics to that country, right? And then they can't pay the loan back, right? Now what? So we forgive them the loan and give them another bunch of loans, right? And then that all goes to our national debt, right? Okay. So, and then we do it again and again all over the world. So everybody, their economic situation is from our IMF Bank, which is backed by the public, which is backed by the national debt, is making their country vibrant or collapsing. And then our debt just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. And eventually we're paying the world's bills. We're paying the bills for every person in the entire world. It's impossible. It can't happen forever. It's not going to happen forever. And so sooner or later, the United States is going to go belly up. If we haven't already, it's going to happen. And I think what's going to happen is we'll have a war first before we go belly up. I think the United States is not going to collapse until we have a war, and I think the United States will just keep printing the money and until they and finally there is a war that shuts it down, and or we shut them down or whatever happens. But the national debt is not paid by the rich, the super rich. They don't pay. None of those people that work for themselves at the top pay the national debt. It's paid by the poor down here. They take it all from us. And that's why our economic situation is not good and is dire and isn't doing well. And even though people might be employed right now by Trump, they're not probably making a whole lot of dough. And that money that they're making, a percentage of it is going towards the national debt. But you notice it's not going down. You'd think it would be going down now. You would think that the economy, employing all those people and all the supposed money that we're making, that the super rich would be just paying tons of money. If the super rich were making all this money that supposedly Trump says they are, how come our national debt is just not dropping like a lead drum, as well as increasing spending? We should be increasing spending like crazy, and the national debt should be dropping like a lead drum. But it's not. It's increasing spending straight up, period. And that's it. And you're like, So that's because the super rich don't pay the national debt down, even if they make a ton of money. Okay, so that's one big misnomer. And second one is that even though everybody's working, they're not making very good wages. So that means only a small amount of money is coming out of all the poor people because they have small wages. It's only a small amount of money is going into the coffers to pay the national debt, which is not enough to service the debt. Thus, we have to borrow more money. And so that's what's happening. And eventually, wages are going to go probably even down further, or they could go up. It just depends. But even if they go up, inflation will go higher and wipe that out, or they'll go down lower, and then the national debt will just keep going up, interest will go up, and same effect. So it just depends. It'll go either way, but the same effect will be that we can't pay the national debt down. So Trump's ideas are great, but they're not going to pay the national debt down because the national debt's paid by the poor down here, and there is no real good jobs down here. I don't see any leaps and bounds jobs that are 35,000, and up. We need jobs because actually even that's not a good job anymore. We need jobs like $100,000 job. We need jobs that are $200,000 jobs. We need jobs like that, and lots of them, thousands and thousands of millions and millions and millions of them. But what we're getting is $35,000 jobs, maybe 50,000, maybe or less. $7 an hour jobs, 20,000 a year jobs. We're getting those. And imagine the little bit of tax that comes out of those to pay the national debt. It's very little. And so that's why the national debt is going skyrocketing and will continue to do so, because we're not making any money, and we're not making any real money, or not a lot of real money, because we're not getting the money we're only getting the money from the sales of stuff between ourselves, which is coming from, we're just paying, us poor people are buying this stuff from Walmart and whatnot, and the federal tax is on some goods that the corporations pay on it, but they're just adding it to it and collecting it for the feds, and it's no new money. And so I'm sure we are selling stuff worldwide, And that stuff that we are selling worldwide is bringing more money back to the United States, but it's not enough. It's not even close enough. We need to sell so much stuff overseas to other countries that it would pay the national debt and leave us extra money in the bank. That's what we need to be doing. That means we need to export, have national, and then have actually surplus debt, surplus, not debt, surplus uh, with other countries. China has a surplus with us when it comes to um, trade deficit. So we should have trade deficits with everybody in the world. We should have a trade deficit with China in the billions of dollars, selling to them, and we don't. So that we have all this extra cash in our bank, and then we wouldn't have $1 trillion deficit. We would have $1 trillion plus, $21 trillion plus in the bank, and we'd be sitting great. And there'd be lots and lots of our people. We'd be able to do so many jobs left and right all over the place. It wouldn't be even funny. And good paying jobs, $100,000 a year jobs all over the place, left and right. And we can't do it. And instead, we're just going deeper and deeper in the hole. Anyway, so I just wanted to voice that concern that number one, the national debt is not paid by the super rich, it's paid by the super poor. And that's the point I wanted to make. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you sometime in the future. Korea News, Mark Bucket, Sunny Wolf. Maybe. If I figure out how we sign off. Oh, there was live chat. I don't know how you do that. Still learning on these things. Oh, guess I could have done a glow, huh? Oh, wow, there's bubbles. I didn't know I could do all this cool stuff. I should have done this one, huh? Whoa! That'd have been a good one. Oh, that one's kind of a little better and better. This bubble one's pretty wild. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And then we get done party. This is supposed to be party. Dad's party. Yeah. What's this one? Oh, yeah. Just what I need. Okay. Back to normal. Let's see here. Microphone. I'll have to go the other way, see if we. Oh, live.